Thank you all for your patience. You know, we thought we had just too few questions. It didn't turn out to be the case at all. We have a number of really good questions for you all. So let's dive in. Let's start off with a general question to the county commissioners. Each of you can take turns in answering it. By the way, we have fixed that other microphone. Keep your fingers crossed. Keep working. What type of speed cameras does the county plan to use? And is there a plan to proliferate them now that the county has one?
Did you ask that question again?
All right. What type of speed cameras? So my understanding, there are cameras that take a quick shot. There are also scanning cameras that also will not only get the license plate, but will use facial recognition as well. Therefore, you can now track the vehicle from point A to point B, and that's where the citizen concern is. Will these be used for tracking citizens?
Can I start off?
You may.
Okay. So, right now, there are no speed cameras in St. Mary's County. There is a plan to put speed cameras located within a half a mile of schools, and that's it. That is the only authority that the county has. We do not have authority for red light cameras. We do not have authority for speed cameras anywhere else. They will not track location where you're going throughout the county. That is not something it's going to do. My understanding is that it would only read license tags, and that's as far as I know right now. Thank you.
Anyone else?
How many of you have heard of flock security? The young Republican back in the back. So flock is the rage in our country today. They were currently in about 2,800 communities or jurisdictions across the United States. They're in Calvert County. We don't know. Flock is a private organization. They are a private organization. They don't just read tags, which they do. They read tags. They do follow that tag from point to point. Okay, but they also, we believe, or many of us believe, that they are also doing facial recognition. They're also tracking what you're doing day in and day out. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure it doesn't happen in St. Mary's County.
I just want to say one thing, and I'll echo what Eric is saying. My top priority in my platform is public safety. That public safety in the school areas, and that's where I think the cameras could be useful in keeping the speeders around or down around the school system there, but not in any other areas.
So yeah, I'm all about safety, okay? The speed cameras that we have looked into will be within a half mile of a school, because prior to doing to having the speed cameras, we did traffic studies out there, and we looked at some specific schools, and one school had like 150 or 200, you can correct me, Eric, if I'm wrong, ticketable violations of people in excess of speed, going around school buses, speeding through these school zones. We need to keep our children safe. So, and this is being done in the hopes that this will encourage people to slow down through the schools.
Mr. McQueen.
So, Calvert had a problem. It was one road coming out of Peachey County directly to the beaches to gamble. Okay. Every time they pulled over somebody speeding, or they caught somebody speeding without cameras, the average amount of time they had a gun in the car was in the 80% range. They were put in along that stretch for a purpose, and the purpose was around what was coming in and out of that zone. And it became critical. They do have cameras also at all the schools, literally within a block or whatever.
Where's that zone?
That zone, it's, I keep forgetting. 261. Yeah, thank you. It goes right into Chesapeake Beach and the gambling, and it comes right in from
So it's
BG
not
County.
260, it's the other, it's the east road?
Well, it comes down, coming down Route 4,
All right,
and you take the exit, says Chesapeake Beach,
260,
and it heads you right directly in.
that's the zone.
And that's the zone that they put them in, and that's where they started with this and testing with it, and it helped, huge help with the crime. It was the crime problem. They still wanted to take care of the schools with the speeding, but this was all about crime and amount of crime that was going on. So it was a lot safer. And it's a lot's changed, because if you notice, the crime went way down in that zone. So it does help, but at the same time, most people do not want it.
Are you saying, sir, that was a special case?
That was how it was treated. It was just that zone, at the original.
Can I ask a question? How many idea you guys would like to see 235 slowed down a little bit? And if speed cameras would help, would you be in favor of it? Just raise your hand.
No.
No. They slowed it down in Charlotte Hall.
Yeah.
And it still hasn't fixed the accident.
10 miles per hour. No.
All right, so I think I can answer this a little bit clearly than most from my experience. So I not only work in the industry in public safety, but as a retired law enforcement officer. So there's two aspects to this, right? You have automated license plate readers. You can see them on the cruisers. They sit up top. They look like little boxes. You'll see them on top of the traffic lights, and they look down. Flock cameras go over to Lowe's, drive into the parking lot next to Burger King. Look to your right. There's a black pole that sits up, has a little solar panel on it. That's a flock license plate reader, all right? Lowe's uses that to see people that comes in and out, and the private company is seeing where you go, all right? That's put into a huge database, and anybody can go in that is in that private network and read your license plate. Any law enforcement officer can go ahead and pull that up as well, all right? So they get all that, they can pull all your information, where you've been, how you've been, track it, all right? And there's two different systems. There's one through MCAC with the Maryland State Police, and then there's one through Flock. So the ones the law enforcement officers use run through state police, and they can do the same thing through their investigations and see where you are and everything about you. As far as speed cameras are concerned, one, I think it's just another tax. All right, that's the way I look at it. I don't think they're necessary in St. Mary's County. All right, I've been in the industry. I've deployed cameras in public safety in Prince George's County. 200 vehicles speeding a day is a far cry from the necessity of a speed camera. Where they've put them up there because they want them there, thousands of vehicles are speeding a day, all right? And if you look at Indian Head Highway, where everybody's dying every 5 minutes, they put them up there. Well, that's Prince George's County, it's great for them, that's where they want it. Now, the other thing that's a hidden secret that most people don't know, it's not just a $40 fine. Right now, if you're going higher than 12 miles per hour to 15 miles per hour, now it escalates. The highest fine you can get from an automated enforcement is $540, all right, if you didn't know that. $540. No warning, no nothing that goes with it. Now, mind you, in a school zone, if you're getting that 540, you deserve it, all right? But, you know, the General Assembly's literally legalized speeding up to 12 miles per hour because they say, you know what, we'll let you speed up to 12 miles per hour in a school zone, and then we'll give you a ticket. Okay, that's effectively what they have done. They said, no, just don't do the speed limit, we'll give you to 12 miles per hour. So for St. Mary's County, it's already on the books. Those cameras do have the ability, I know the vendor that's there, they do have the ability to tag your license plate, and law enforcement can access it and see where you've been and how you've been. They don't necessarily give it, all right? But I do think that they should restrict the timing that they're doing on it if they got it down here. Me, for one, I pull them out.
Any more responses quickly?
Real quick, just as a follow-up. So when I said 2,800 jurisdictions, I mean public governments, okay? They do a lot of work on private property, which is private property owners' business. That's their business. My concern is that we don't truly know behind the scenes. We know what they tell us they're doing. They're a private entity. We know what they tell us they're doing. I have no trouble with them doing security as long as the records are deleted within a reasonable amount of time. 15 days, maybe 20 days, those records have to be deleted. And we have to be assured as a community that that information is not being captured, it's not being sold to private entities who are going to then know who you are and what you're doing every day of your life. And that's my concern. So thank you.
All right, moving on. Matt Morgan, I think you're familiar with this one.
Okay.
House Bill 637, the Public Health Pharmacist and Required Health Insurance Coverage, also known as the VAX Act, which, by the way, for the audience, decouples the state's vaccine policy. How do you think that affects our children?
So, I'm not sure how it affects our children. I know it's bad policy. And here's why. It's caused by the left because they're upset at the Trump administration. They're upset at RFK. And it was a weird deal in session because at the same time this year, we also banned a bunch of like red dyes and things like that. So I'm like, well, you're willing to follow the Make America Healthy platform some of the time, but you're not willing to follow the vaccine schedule that's coming out of HHS. So look, they're just really upset about that. So what this bill did was to turn the recommended vaccines over to the state health department. And look, I think some of the vaccines we're over-vaccinating our kids. And I think it's worthwhile to take a look at that. And parents, you really need to be informed. Now, the important thing to understand, it's not mandated. But look, they're going to recommend it like it's mandated. Parents need to inform themselves of exactly what they're putting in their kids' body. Because the vaccine schedule that Annapolis is pushing is much different than what the feds are currently pushing. It's much different than what's currently being pushed over in Europe. Hope that answers your question. So anything else you might have.
And this one for Dorothy Andrews. How do you feel about keeping girls' sports and girls' spaces for girls only?
Well, I think the federal government took care of that. And that is one thing that is great about what our new administration, they have to follow the law. And it really has turned our school system around a little bit to where it's changing. Quietly, but it's changing. But no, myself personally, no boys should be in the girls' bathroom, and it's to be protected at all times. That's their safe space. That's helping parents know that their children are safe in the schools, and we should always have a high standard for that. Thank you.
Can I answer that real quick? So I'm a co-sponsor of that legislation in the Maryland General Assembly. My good friend Delegate Cassie Slaga, another Freedom Caucus member, she's the vice chair, I'm the chairman of the Maryland Freedom Caucus. She puts in that bill, she's put it in probably the last 3 years. And it's just basic common sense. There is a biological difference between young men and women. And no one talks about, like, if it's a basketball team of 5, no one talks about the one little girl forced to sit on the bench now because a guy's playing there. No one talks about them actually opening up the locker room for these males. And it's just not appropriate. So look, this should be state law. This is common sense. And it's definitely something I'm working towards changing. And we would really like your support. But common sense in Annapolis doesn't seem to be that common.
Good. This one's from Michelle. Steny Hoyer has promised to fix the Thomas Johnson Bridge in Solomons, but never did anything. What steps can you take to secure funding for the bridge should you be elected?
Well, it helps when you have somebody that has any knowledge about building. And I will tell you, he makes a lot of promises, and a lot of it is funding. But that's a difference between Steny and so many that have gotten there. This was never his priority. Many of the projects here were not his priority. It didn't keep him elected. It didn't have to. He was so focused on Prince George's County, another big ticket items across the United States, that he didn't come down here. He didn't actually say, hey, what is the holdup? So the first thing is I'm going to say, what is the holdup? Is it money? Is it the contracts? Is it the permitting process? Are we having this outsourced from contractors and builders that aren't even in the state? And I have a big issue with that too. So I want to make sure that we figure out exactly what's happening with that bridge, along with others that we know we've been talking about. Get the money here, but make sure it's not fast-tracked, but it's used appropriately with a timestamp. So, hey, we're going to get this money, we're going to allot it here, but we're going to make sure these contractors don't drag it out. I don't want to see 30,000 change orders that end up being an extra $10 million for unnecessarily. So let's get there, get the money, but make sure that it's tied to whoever is doing the job and follow up on that job.
I don't hog the microphone, but I wouldn't mind taking a crack at this, because we get hammered on that all the time. Ever since Larry Hogan was elected in 14, he's like, oh, what, Republicans, so why don't you get this done? I want people to understand, for a very long time, decades, you had Steny Hoyer on one side of that bridge, the second-ranking Democrat in the nation. And then on the other side of that bridge, you had Mike Miller. And the bridge looks exactly the same since it was in the 70s when they shut it down. They passed two different major infrastructure bills. One under Obama, and then one under Donald Trump. And guess what? That bridge didn't get funded either time. This is a blatant failure of our congressional delegation. It starts with Chris Van Hollen and ends with Steny Hoyer. There is a nuclear power plant, there is a gas plant on the other side of that bridge. It needs to be replaced. We're not going to replace it in the state without federal money. And I tell you, I can't help but notice every time you elect a Republican as governor, we get a major infrastructure project here in Southern Maryland. When we had Governor Ehrlich, we got the Hughesville bypass. When we had Governor Hogan, we got the Potomac River Bridge. Maybe, just maybe, we could get another Republican and the bridge could get replaced. Thank you.
And not have it be a toll bridge.
Yeah.
This one is for the county commissioners. What is your position on marijuana growth facilities, and do any of you have financial interest in them? You can go right down the line, or you can follow me.
We already have a cannabis grow farm installation in Able, and I can tell you that none of those neighbors are happy with it. They haven't been happy with it. I have no financial aspect in any cannabis industry, dispensary, or selling to the person down the street. So I don't think that St. Mary's County needs or wants another cannabis facility, and I will not be putting my support to another cannabis facility.
Can I go? Eric, can I have the microphone?
Yeah, I don't think St. Mary's County needs or wants the one we currently have, okay? I am dead against them. I don't think it's needed. I don't think it's needed in our community. I think it's horrible what has happened out there, because you have people who have homes and they're constantly exposed to the odors and the fumes, and we hear it all the time that they are concerned that their property values are going to be greatly deflated, because how are you going to sell your home or do anything with it when people are coming to look at your house and all they can smell is an overwhelming smell of growing marijuana? I think it's bad for our community. I don't think it's good for a community that's main livelihood is a U.S. naval base. I don't think it should have ever been allowed. So I would have definitely voted no on that. I would have done everything in my power to stop it, and I will do everything in my power to stop any other marijuana grow facilities trying to come into our community.
So there is somebody trying to come to the community. The Southern Maryland Wood Treatment Plant was approved for putting it to a 100,000 square foot facility to put another growth area in here. And how it's coming in there is kind of secretly. It was coming in from Prince George's County. There's two sisters who were trying to set up the plant, bought the property, and they didn't use the name of their company. They used the private name, so nobody really knew what was going on. This hasn't gone forward, but I'm just telling you, there's constant push to do that. And I want to give you one more aspect to look at this. When they first put the grow facility in, one of my physicians I saw, she's kind of an herbal, self-help type stuff. She's not big into the big pharma, et cetera. And she thought it was great because they were doing medicinal tinctures and things like that. And that's the way it was supposed to go. That did not last. I think we went 1 year. And then suddenly everyone said, you know, if we put THC back in it, we make a lot more money. And they don't even grow medical marijuana anymore. That's THC they're talking about. So, bad idea. You opened up and the camel's got his head under the tent. Thanks.
So I was on board when, unfortunately, when that went down with the marijuana grow facility in Able, and it was quite the controversy. The state, when they passed the laws, they did a good job of not really informing the board that we controlled the zoning on how these things would go in. By the time we found out, the permits were approved by the state. Land Use and Growth Management, our director, put them through. There was no necessity to inform the commissioners. And then we found out because the residents told us, hey, do you know that this facility is agricultural and it's going up? And it was so far along that there was nothing that we could do at that point. However, our delegation was able to go ahead and make some changes for us. Senator Bailey led that, and they weren't able to expand the facility anymore. You know, the second facility that they're talking about is easily a zoning change. So if anybody on our current board is against it, it's just a matter of passing a stern zoning change that makes it so these facilities don't have to be there. You know, they put it down to the county, and Senator Bailey passed it. So it's just about controlling the zoning laws and what can go there and how it can go there and how the property needs to be zoned for it. So those are the things that need to happen in order to control that particular industry. The power is at the county level to go ahead and do that. And there are certain limitations by the state because the state does want to see these facilities go in certain areas, and they are pushing it from a socioeconomic standpoint as well. So there are a lot of factors with it, but it is something that the commissioners can control. The commissioners can stop should they choose to do so on an affirmative vote. I wish we had known sooner about the one down at Able, because that was I think for every commissioner on that board and the citizens that were down there, it took years off of our life working our way through that. And we were just fortunate we had a senator that was able to get things done for us up there and help us along.
All right,
Mr. Alvey.
If it comes for me, I'm dead against it. I think we should have, once we got stuck with the one we have, that board of commissioners should have passed a resolution or a law right then banning any future growth on these. They sold us a bill of goods that said no noise, no smell, and it's violating everything that they said. And why we can't step in there and tell them to tighten up their act a little bit, it's beyond me. But I'll do everything I can to not have another one.
So, real quick, I have absolutely zero financial interest in any marijuana facility.
Me neither.
Thank you. Because if I did, I probably wouldn't be here. I'd be in Florida or something like that. But I really wouldn't want to, and I wouldn't do that. I remember we had a pharmacy in Charlotte Hollow, and the state called me one day and said, we're going to approve medical marijuana to be sold at pharmacies. Would you guys like to sell medical marijuana? And I said, no. I said, no. I just don't believe that is it's a proliferation of a drug that is not beneficial in the totality of our community. But I will say that there is another effort to move a second plan, as Mr. Jarboe said, and that property is zoned correctly for it. So it's very, very important that you get us to the commissioner table as quickly as possible so that we can take action to prevent this from happening. And I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, the next one is for Michelle. Doge revealed that we, the United States, could have had a balanced budget for over a decade. should you be elected, how do you plan to address the issue of fraud with the Republican senators, who, by the way, refused to do anything about the Doge findings?
Yeah, so I've never been a fan. The DEI projects that are there, right? Not only that, but when we have, let's say, our good friend Hoyer, who's resigning, bring in big projects, but you see all the work that's attached to it. It comes down to accountability, so that even when we found out there was no accountability, and even right now we're seeing nationally that we're highlighting the Elon Omars, who are just embezzling, allegedly, a whole lot of money, even though now, of course, she's worth what she was supposed to be worth. It's that nobody is being held to account. That has to end. It just does, plain and simple. So how do you hold it to account? You see a couple bold leaders that'll keep harping on it every single day. If you are in leadership, those in Congress, those in the Senate have to say, no, they stole this money, we have to do something about it. Win or lose, whether a resolution passes, if it fails, you have to keep on them. Or this is going to continue to happen. It's been happening for decades. DEI projects that are going overseas. How dare taxpayer money from American citizens go overseas and those who knew about it not be held account? That's got to end, and if I get there, I will make sure they don't hear the end of me, and with the last name Talkington, that's going to be very easy to do. I will talk a ton about it, and I will push for accountability, and I think that they should go to jail, frankly. Jail time.
Michelle, we believe in you.
That I talk a ton, or I'll make sure they go to jail.
Matt Morgan, HB 146. On-site septic requirements for inspection and pumping services. Good news, this bill failed. Can you explain how you and others defeated it?
So, myself and the Maryland Freedom Caucus, we're pretty good when a bill comes in where we can reframe it, kind of freeze it, polarize it, and drive some media attention to it. Because nothing makes Democrats more nervous than their constituents knowing what they're doing. And that bill kind of fell into that category there, where it's just that, you come into session and we're like, we're going to deal with kitchen table issues. And the entire session was politically gerrymandering our one representative out of the Eastern Shore and making it safer for criminal illegal aliens to live here and so they can dodge ICE. That's what the entire session was. And then you get some of these bills in there, it's like, well, I thought we were going to focus on the kitchen table issues. This bill clearly raises housing costs. And there's just a general misconception in the General Assembly about how septic systems even work. And the ironic thing is, that there's the Democratic Party, and most of them are in metropolitan areas, and frankly, they're on sewage. They don't know what the septic is. They're like, what? It just flows into the ground? They think it's like this environmental hazard. This is happening the same time you have a broken sewage pipe on the Potomac River where hundreds of millions of gallons of human waste running into the Potomac. So it's just completely, if it wasn't for a double standard, I don't know if they would have a standard. But unfortunately, that bill and several other really bad housing bills were defeated. But then, unfortunately, some did pass. And hopefully we can get into those. Thank you.
Here's my plug for the Watchman. So if you're surprised by some of these bills that we're talking about, you will find them on the Watchman website. We keep you informed what the legislative agenda is so that you can have support for Matt Morgan and others that support our values. Okay. The next question is for Dorothy. St. Mary's School Board budget now exceeds 51% of the county budget. What are we getting for our money?
Well, that is broken down into 3 categories. There's your administration, there's the CIP, and then there's your projects. So really what's spent on education is about 45% of that. And yes, you're right. I mean, what is going on with the schools? They need to be held accountable. But guess what? It also takes more than one person. We do have two, and this next election, we could have another one, and we could start changing these things around. If you re-elect me, at least I've done the grunt work or the groundwork to help them see where all the categories and how they keep shifting them around all the time. They will change it to a new category, and you have to be tracking it. And it's very complicated. They really make it hard sometimes. But in order to bring any changes, first we need to get one more person on the board, re-elect me, of course, and then we need to have the chair and the vice chair. We need a change. That's the only way that people are going to be sitting down with the superintendent and telling him, this is what we want. And that's all. Thank you.
Very good. The next question actually is addressed to the county commissioner presidents. Matt and Morgan, you're invited to join in, as well as the other commissioners. There's been a lot of discussion and some legislative initiatives regarding charter versus county commissioner-driven governance of counties. Should the state or individual counties have the say in changing their form of local government? And what is at stake?
Commissioner.
Yeah, myself.
The president.
Yeah, so absolutely, counties should have a say on what form of government they have. And we had that vote, I think it was in 2014, or no, 15, maybe 16 election when it came up. The proposal was made earlier. Whether we were going to go to, from the commissioner county that we had to code and rule. Now, we've had numerous studies talking about executive form of government. But look, that's up to the individual counties to decide that. Annapolis shouldn't be telling any county they need to change their form of government. And there's been a couple bills that really never gone anywhere. I don't think that's a major intent from Annapolis. The major intent from Annapolis, and hopefully we can get into this, is really them trying to steal an election district and try to subvert what the voters want. There was a bill that passed, it was one of the last bills that passed at the session. You might have seen some of the video online, it's just chaos in the chamber as we're heading towards sine die. It was Senate Bill 255. And what that was a bill to back end a bill they tried a few years ago where they want individual district voting. Senate Bill 255 allows the Attorney General basically to sue our county if a protective class feels they've been discriminated against, and introduces a new term called polarized voting. What does that mean? Nobody knows what that means. It's a completely made-up term that first of all, it's kind of offensive to think minorities only vote for one party. That's simply not true. So I think that's maybe some of that question is. I'll tell you this, and I'll finish up really quick. It was infuriating to see the Democrats that are running, I believe, for the president, my opponent, a couple of their people on their central committee, to come to Annapolis and portray our county like some type of racial divide is happening. It's simply not true. Our county has a great track record on minority candidates, going back to Joe Lee Somerville, that was the 5th African-American sheriff elected in, I think, 1978. We didn't elect him because he was black. We elected him because we thought he was going to be a good sheriff. Look, we have a great track record on this, and I'd like to get into it. I know I'm out of time. Thank you.
Just to jump in on that real quick also, of course the local counties should be able to determine how they want to run their local elections and what form of government they have. Now, I don't want to get too far into the charter versus county commissioner form of government, but one argument I will make in favor of the charter, I'm not proposing that right now, but it is ridiculous the amount of permission that we have to go to Annapolis for some insane things. And Matt will tell you, we had to go to Annapolis to get permission to allow golf carts on county highways. And I would ask you, what does a delegate from Baltimore, the Eastern Shore, or Western Maryland know about our highways here? Nothing. So that's some of the craziness that we have to deal with. And one of the things, one of the themes that you're seeing throughout a lot of these questions is the state trying to usurp local authority. Now, I'm a huge believer in that smaller government at a lower level is closer to the people and better for the people. Any tax dollars that you pay locally, stay locally. Tax dollars to the state go somewhere else in the state. Tax dollars to the federal government, who knows where they end up. But local is better. The smaller it is, the better it is, the closer it is to the people. Thank you.
So, first of all, I agree with everything that Eric just said. He said that very well. I would like to add to that. What you hear, and what you may hear in the community even, is that if voters could vote in their individual district for the individual commissioner just in that district, like second district, you vote for only the second district commissioner and you vote for the president. That's what they are proposing, okay? The problem with that, let me tell you what the problem with that is. The problem with that is you need 3 votes at the commissioner table, right? And so if I did not have to campaign in District 4 to be elected, if the only place I had to campaign is District 2, and the only place that John has to campaign is District 4, and the only place that Eric has to campaign is District 1, the 3 of us can shut down the rest of the board. The 3 of us can make Lexington Park a desert. Because we're not going to send money to Lexington Park when we're going to send money back to our districts. Because those are the people that are electing us. Right now, today, I have to campaign in all 5 districts. I have to be accountable to the citizens of the entire county, and that's the way it should be in order that the county gets full representation and all of our citizens get represented fairly and equally. Thank you.
Well, since I'm running for county commissioner president, I kind of like the way that we elect our officials down here, and I wouldn't want to change it. I know Eric brought up a good point of the ridiculousness that the county commissioners now have to go through, but the long and short of it is, I think it's better the way we do it now.
And I'll be very brief because I was on the board when we put that out for a vote. And honestly, I don't think any of the commissioners at the time really had a strong feeling one way or another, whether it was commission of form of government or charter. But the people did, and the people said no, and it wasn't that long ago, so why open that can of worms again? I will kind of touch a little bit on the subject there that Matt kind of brought forward. We did have a delegation from St. Mary's County that went up, and some of the conversations about disenfranchised minority groups, et cetera, you know, the current county commissioners are 5 Caucasian males, right? Well, I'm going to ask you, look who's running for office now. There is one female who's running for commissioner. She's Caucasian as well. I think there's no metrics that you can look at to say that somebody was disenfranchised. Just, if you want to run for commissioner, put your name on the ballot. Because $25, I mean, it's not hard. And so they're basically trying to take a narrative that they have already corrected. One of the most vocal people, I'm not going to give names, but she went out of her way to say that she lived in St. Mary's County 30 years and to talk about people running for office who lived here since the 1600s. I wonder who she was talking about. But then she kind of pulls that in to make it look like my ancestors disenfranchised people, therefore I'm not a good representative of my county, which is horseshit. And this is just what people try to do when they have a narrative and they want to take it forward. Thanks.
Well, I kind of like it the way it is. I think the people of the county had a chance to vote different a couple of years ago, and they like it the way it is.
I know it's very much appreciated that there's a familiar face to talk to when an issue comes up. Speaking of those issues, Mechanicsville, this is for the commissioners again. Mechanicsville now has, count them, 9 gas stations, all within about 1.5 miles of each other. Traffic has increased approximately 5-fold over the last 5 years, and now there are 3 new housing divisions just starting wiping out acres of forest. Take that versus the need for affordable housing. It seems like we're running in advance of the county long-term plan for the Mechanicsville part of the county. What's your take on it?
I agree. We are. And probably almost a year ago, I proposed to the board that we take a look at how gas stations specifically are handled in our county. And I said, I didn't want to outlaw gas stations. I believe in private enterprise. I believe in public or private rights for property ownership. But I said that we should empower our planning commission to be able to look at what is needed in a neighborhood. Give them some tools in their toolbox that they can look at it more versus just having to check mark it and move it forward. The other commissioners at the time did not agree with me, and it did not go anywhere.
Eric, I'll take that one.
I know that my good friends to my right are just waiting to get this mic, so I'm going to grab it while I have a chance. And I want to say this, the tool in the toolbox, Commissioner, that the Planning Commission needs is a master plan for the Charlotte Hall Town Center. That's the tool in the toolbox that we have failed to give the Planning Commission. We need master plans for all of our town centers. We need master plans for our village centers, and those master plans need to be drawn up by you. They need to be drawn up from your input, what you want in your town, what you expect to see in your town center. Not what I want, but what you want for your town center. I propose that we master plan our town centers as quickly as we can, and that we follow that master plan through enforcement of our adequate public facilities ordinance, which requires that we have adequate public facilities before we can approve these, or as these projects come forward, they develop the adequate public facilities. And I think that would went a long way to help what we saw in Charlotte Hall. Now, as a fiduciary for you, I would say this. I don't know of anywhere else that you're going to get a $5 million property valuation on about an acre and a half. So the tax benefit that you're getting because of that development is enormous. It's an acre and a half, and they're going to be paying $5 million worth of property taxes, each one of those guys, in terms of the assessed value. The problem is we didn't plan it. It wasn't done in a planned and systematic way. And roads are not sufficient. Access roads could have been improved. And I'm a free market guy, you know that, right? And so, but I do believe that there has to be constraints with planning, and the citizens have to be the ones at the forefront of that planning.
I agree with everything Tommy just said, but one other point to that is, right now, we're doing the comp plan, the 2050 comp plan, and the most important key, in this commissioner's opinion, will come up next year when we look at the CZO, the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance. The reason I didn't agree with Commissioner Colvin on what he wanted to move forward last year was that if your property is zoned correctly for something that is commercial, you can have a gas station there. It's completely zoned. It's perfectly legal. I don't have the right to tell you what you can or can't do with your property. If somebody comes in like Royal Farms or whoever and says, hey, I'm going to give you $10 million to buy this piece of property because we want to put up a Royal Farms, I can't tell you no, you can't do that. We have to look at the zoning ordinance, which comes up next year, and make sure that we are zoning these areas correctly to where, and changing that ordinance to where you can and can't have a gas station every 100 feet. We have to look at the zoning ordinance and make those changes.
Eric,
Being on the planning and zoning in Calvert.
So we're a nation of laws, not men. And the purpose of our government is to have those reasonable laws, public safety, right? And when we talk about not telling somebody what to do with their land, right? If you want to sell it, sell your land. But we're here to represent the people. and set the standards and set the laws that govern that capitalistic nature of what is there. And you have to work within the confines of what is set, like the CZO or comprehensive zoning ordinance. And when Commissioner Colvin brings up, the indirect input from the citizens, that's just another law that they would have to abide by, right? And these developers need to abide by those laws, right? And so I think there's an absolute need for public input to see if there's a necessity for 9 gas stations. It doesn't take an overhaul of the entire thing, because how fast these developers move in a year, it is beyond light speed. Look what they did in the north end of the county in less than a year and a half, 2 years. Has anybody sat at that light at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, or 9 o'clock at night over by Sheets where it just stays red for no reason? And it's fine. It's the worst light in the world. All right. So there are things the governing body can do to put a stop to this. And when you talk about affordable housing at the same time, that's a whole other ball of wax with affordable housing, and then we start talking about, is it actually voucher housing or affordable housing? Because there is available affordable housing in the county. It's just a matter of whether you want to go live where that affordable housing is. And then it's a matter of the government putting extra regulations on the builders that are building that's driving up the costs. Fortunately, I was able to, I was one of the guys from Curtis Homes, and I had a great opportunity to talk to him, and he said, man, this excise tax and how long it takes with Ludlam is just killing us in St. Mary's County. And now it's killing our projects in Leonardtown, and it's going to drive up our costs on our homes.
So, we just heard a lot about planning and zoning. Just to let you know, we lived that gas station problem also. And the Board of Commissioners overrode us. And that's how we got the 5th gas station within less than a mile of each other. And they used a complaint. If that grocery store can do it, why can't this grocery store do it? You've got to make sure you got the proper rules, the proper zoning, and it can't have a kickback.
All right. The next. Yes, sir.
I want to add one really, really big point to this. There was a question about the cannabis grow facility, and you heard a resounding no, and we're going to make sure it doesn't happen. And that's just by passing a simple law that can be done right now to stop it from happening. The same thing could be for the gas stations. You can't say one for the grow facility and not the same for the gas stations, right? You have to be able to apply it equally across the board. So I just wanted to point that out.
All right, very good. The next question actually is for you, Michelle, and you, Todd. It comes out of the blue, so if it's I'll look into that, that's
Todd.
I'm sorry, Matt. We did it right now. There. Never to be done again. Forgive me, Matt. All right. Can you tell us what the impediments in making St. Mary's Airport a short distance commute hub instead of going all the way to Baltimore or all the way to Washington?
So I'm going to turn that over to the person that I think would be best to answer that question.
I was like, heck yeah, I'm going to answer this question. So it's been tried before. Back when Governor Glenn Denning was governor of the state, he put in 3 airports around the state of Maryland, and one of them is at St. Mary's. And when he built the terminal system, et cetera, up until 10 years ago, not even that far, 5 years ago, we still have a luggage belt. We still had the ticket counter for renting the car and everything. It was the old build it and they will come. But here's the fundamental problem. Anyone who does mapping from short field airports to large city airports, you have to be more than 140 miles away or it doesn't make any sense. And that's the biggest challenge. So what would happen is they did run a charter out of St. Mary's Airport. And so if it was a beautiful day, VFR conditions, not cloudy and overcast, you could get on a charter flight, fly to BWI, and wait for your flight, and everything was wonderful. And then you come back from that trip, and you land at BWI, and the charter's not going to be there for 3 hours. Are you going to sit there, or are you going to drive home? That was one problem. The other one was the total misunderstanding that BWI is the only airport in the state of Maryland And by the way, the Department of Defense doesn't care whether you fly out of Dulles, DCA, or BWI. What they care about is the cost. So it's not reasonable. It won't work. There's no market for it, and that's why it'll never happen.
Yeah, thank you for the insight. Matt Morgan, St. Mary's County has too many voting precincts. It's too hard to get voters for them. How do you reduce the number? What's your position?
And talk about early voting days too. Too many of that.
So, look, this is a big problem in the state because, and it's probably a big problem nationally. We've changed election day to now election month. And my party, we've been getting better at it, Republicans. We really need to start taking the attitude that election day is the last day that you can vote. We want people to show up on the first day that you can vote. But to answer the question, look, I think the commissioners, and Eric would probably back me up on this and probably provide more detail, they've already, the commissioners fund the Board of Elections. They shrunk the precincts about 2 elections ago. So originally, when I first ran for office, I think I had 14 precincts. I think I'm down to like 8. And look, you need to be a little bit judicial in this because I'll give you a great example. The #1 voting precinct in the entire county for Republicans is Golden Beach. For Golden Beach to vote, they used to vote in their firehouse right there. It was like a big community day. Well, now they're required to vote in the Mechanicsville Firehouse, which if you lived in Golden Beach, drive to Mechanicsville Firehouse, I mean, that's like a 20-minute drive, crossing Route 5, depending on it. So look, you really need to be conscious that we're not disenfranchising voters and making it hard. I do believe that early voting, and especially, well, look, mail-in voting definitely needs to be cracked down on. Early voting needs to be shrunk, in my opinion, because all that does is cannibalize other voting days. The state spends a tremendous amount of money with voter access, and when you look at it, it hasn't really increased the amount of voters that are participating. So we need to inspire people to show up, and then we really need to focus on election security. We had model legislation this year that required voter ID, something I deeply believe in. And look, so does the Maryland public. You test voter ID, I mean, that polls in like the 85 percentile. Democrats are dead set against it.
Just to correct one thing Matt said, the county pays a lot for elections. The state might set the policy for elections, which the county cannot influence. Well, we can try to influence, but we have no say in it. But the county pays the bills for it. So the state mandated where early voting locations need to happen and how many. So the Lexington Park location was written in because of certain population characteristics that prevented it from being anywhere else in the county. It had to be there. And the commissioners decided it's not fair to have early voting in Hollywood and Lexington Park and leave the northern part of the county out of it. We added the Mechanicsville Fire Department as another early voting site. The length of early voting is just exorbitant. It should not be 8 days long. It should be cut down. And that's bipartisan. You talk to Democrats that are working the polls, they agree too. It is just way too long of early voting. But please vote. No matter how you do it, please vote.
I'm going to jump in there for at the national level. Look, the bottom line is the Save America Act needs to pass. And if they can't get it across the line, then we need to do everything we can to ensure that we keep the House, that we keep the Senate. And I will make sure that I fight for that. Because the argument they've used, which we all know is a lie, that somehow black people can't get IDs, that American citizens of any other race and ethnicity, we struggle so hard. But you need an ID to get anything, to get insurance, to get cigarettes, that I see a lot of people to get alcohol. It's just, there's no reason to not have voter ID, first off. And then secondly, we have to stop this misconception, nationally and locally, that everybody deserves to have convenient voting. Voting is not convenient. It was never intended to be convenient. It It's not a convenience, it's a privilege that we have as American citizens as long as we continue to fight to make sure that we have that. So to make sure everybody's comfortable, I don't know if you've seen the ads, but I was disgusted by the ads to say, it's easy, just do it from home with the mail-in ballot. I'm not saying don't take advantage of that. What I'm saying was nonsensical. What I'm saying is that during COVID, what we allowed was this great big bonanza, and I'm going to vote, and I'm going to do it any way I want to, and you have to make it easy for me, convenient for me. Oh, and by the way, don't check and make sure that it's me. That is how rampant fraud has happened. So yeah, we need to cut back. If you do not have a valid reason not to show up, then fine, then you can mail in. If you were ill, if you were in the military, I understand that. But to have 10, 12, 20, it seems like we just keep skip counting. Soon we'll have 2 months of voting. Soon it'll be an entire year that you can just vote any way you want to. No. Early voting needs to be cut down, maybe 3 days, and that can be done. Of course, we know there's a lot of changes. Locally, that needs to be attacked. State by state, it needs to be attacked. Nationally, it needs to be taken care of. This is out of control. And voter ID, it works everywhere. And lastly, I'll say, we somehow thought that this couldn't be done. But let's go back 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. You know, it's amazing how our memories have failed. We used to be able to go, stay in line, vote, count the votes without a machine, get the vote decided, and announce it the next day, maybe one extra day. That's what we need to get back to. And we need to consider this a privilege, a right to vote.
Audience, we have not run out of questions, but we have run out of time. So in a moment, we're going to ask the candidates to summarize themselves and their campaign for 1 minute. Mr. Alvey, are you ready?
All right, again, my positions on data centers, no, cannabis facilities at an industrial site, not in a residential neighborhood. I think that's been forced down upon us by the state. I want to cut the fees so that working families can have some breathing room. As far as reducing taxes, I'll treat your money like it's my money. And I'm going to get the best bargain that I can find, and we're not going to waste money.
Yeah, to summarize, I'd say experience is important. I have been a county commissioner before. I have 4 years of experience of doing it. I enjoyed the job very much. I didn't run again because my background was international trade and I was doing a lot of travel. I didn't think it was fair. Who knew COVID was going to break out? I could have done it anyway. But I have the experience, I have the education. I was in the military. I got out, worked with defense contractors. I've owned 2 and sold them. And now I have another one that I've run with my kids for intergenerational wealth transfer, teaching them how to be their own little CEOs. They're all in their 30s now. So I'm connected very tight in the community. Yeah, you knew immediately Matt Morgan handed me the microphone. That's because I live and breathe over at the airport. I have an office as soon as you walk in the terminal where the old ticket counter used to be. It's now my office there. Feel free to come by anytime. I always have an open door policy. We can get some lunch at the Bird Dog Bistro. I'll put you in the golf cart and run you around town. But I want to go back to my beginnings. I was a good old boy. I grew up in this town. I worked on the water. You know, we had tobacco farms. I remember the rural character of the county. We need to maintain that as we move forward. But I'm also a high-tech guy. So people know me the most. A lot of people down here don't even think I'm from St. Mary County because they see me in a suit and they see me doing high-tech programs. But as I'll close real quick, I just want people to remember, I can skin a buck, I can run a trot line, and this country boy can survive and take care of you.
Well, I'll be the new person running for county commissioner president. Mr. Alvey's run the race a few times. Mr. Jarboe's been in the seat. I'm looking forward to being in the seat myself. I think I bring a large contingency of people that maybe aren't reached by Mr. Alvey or Mr. Jarboe. And I'd like to bridge that gap and work for those people as well as the rest of all of you. So, go for great.
So, the last 6 years, I've been a grassroots. That's where I've been honing everything that I know. I've been involved in a lot of stuff. I am in Cal County. I am part of the planning and zoning. I can talk to you about that for days. And we do have the data center situation going on in Calvert County, like you guys got the piles. So I've got the time, I've been putting the time in, I know how it works, I'm here to support you, and my goal is for people in St. Mary's to start understanding how much I do in Calvert, and that I'm able to do it across the water. And it would be nice if we had a bridge that didn't shake.
Trying to figure out how to wrap up here. Look, I think our state, and maybe our country, I mentioned it in the opening, with what's going on, I think we're in real trouble. And it's because of this ideology that's taken over the Democratic Party. Maryland's always been a one-party state. But I can tell you that the Democrats that are running Annapolis right now, they don't espouse the ideas of Jefferson or Madison. This is not your Democratic Party of JFK. I mean, the ideology that exists up there, it's AOC, it's Bernie Sanders, and their intellectual thought leader, Zohran Mamdani. And you're starting to see the legislations, like the bills passing, are really starting to reflect that. They don't believe in private property rights. The means of production, well, you're the means of the production. They're going to soak you for every bit of taxes that you have. We're facing a $3 billion deficit next year. I mean, my God, where does it stop? And you're starting to see it, like I've never seen it this bad where people are trying to leave the state of Maryland. Like everyone you meet is trying to leave. Look, I'm running for this office because I want to defend this area, defend this state. I could really use your help. We've been trying to get a lot more media out there. I'm chair of the Freedom Caucus, and with that became, we want to do more media, try to win the hearts and minds of people, to try to get an alternative to what's been going on in Annapolis. Could use your help. Voteformattmorgan.com is my website, and look forward to it. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask.
I'm going to say I love that comment. So you know what? I can process a deer myself. I got 2 in the freezer right now. All of my kids, they are hunters. We are fishers. We've got boats. You name it. So needless to say, I love my Second Amendment, but maybe not as much as I love my First Amendment. So I'm going there to tell Congress enough's enough. I'm going there to tell the squad to stop squawking. You are sending me to Congress to prove that St. Mary's County and Southern Maryland is not a stereotype. And thank you, Matt, for saying that. Because conservatives look like me. They fight like me. They fight like you. We are regular people. I'm a regular mom. Maybe I have a few more kids than the average person. Okay, 6 might be above average. But I'm a small business owner. I work with my hands. I do everything day to day. So I'm going there to fight for your taxes, to fight against inflation, to fight for free market, to fight for American values, which we have to fight for because we see an invasion happening. It's already here. So if we don't do it now, then now may become never. So I'm going to tell you that it's time for us to send people in who will take back the educational system, teach our children right from wrong, and to love America. And that's how we keep America. So please, I ask for your vote. Michelle Talkington for Congress. You can find me at talkingtonforcongress.com. Donate, volunteer, but we are going to get there and be proactive, unlike Hoyer, who was reactive. And we're going to bring the money home and keep our country safe and keep our country American.
Row again. Academic excellence starts with the team, a team of 3. There's 2 of us in there already. We need 1 more spot. Vote for me to keep me in there is what I'm asking, because there are life changes that need to be made. And you want A+ education with experience and leadership you can trust. Thank you.
My name's Eric Colvin. This is my 3rd time running for office. I love our county. I grew up in our county. I was born in our county. And it is an honor to serve. And that's what this job is. This job is about serving. And that's what it comes down to. My hat goes off to everyone running for office because it is a grind to put your name out there. And I thank you all for being here to listen to us tonight. I ask that you follow me on Facebook, Commissioner Colvin. Go to my website, it's votecolvin.com. I look forward to answering any other questions you have, and it's really an honor to serve in this role. Thank you.
I would like to represent you at the commissioner table for the next 4 years. I'm asking for your support, and I'm asking for your vote. I believe in a smaller, more affordable government that excels in the things that local government should be doing and eliminates those things that local government should not be doing. And it's more than just taxes. There's all kinds of fees that now are being put on us. I play on a senior softball team. Our home field is up here at Oakville at Baggett Park. Most of our guys are 65 or older. 2 years ago, county government said to us, you're going to have to start paying $40 to play, $40 a game to play on that field. Then last year they came and they said, in addition to that, you're going to have to start paying to practice on that field. This year they came to us and said, you're going to have to pay insurance in addition to your fees to play on the field. We now pay over $600 a year to play on that field. These boys and these men have been paying taxes in St. Mary's County their entire life. We take 3.2% of their Social Security, one of the highest taxes in the state of Maryland. Their property tax feels like a second mortgage. All they want to do is play softball. They keep putting in and they take very, very little out, much like you. You should be just like them. We should recognize how much you're putting in and how little you actually are taking out. And I want to represent you, and I appreciate the opportunity if you give it to me. Thank you.
Again, I'm Tom Phelan. My priorities are public safety, academic excellence for our students, they're our future, and controlled growth to maintain our rural character here in the county. I've had a lifetime of service in both the military as a defense contractor. I'm ready to serve again for the needs of the county here. This is my home. My wife and I have 46 years, 45 and 9 months. Raised all 3 of our kids here. I now have 8 grandkids. Not all of them are here, but they're our future. And so I'm ready to serve. Vote for Tom.
First, I'd like to say thank you. Tonight was just some of the, you go to a lot of these forums, just a lot of amazing questions and real questions, not the gimme questions and not the attack questions you'll get at some of the other forums that are through the county. They were really important, and you can tell that the community is really aware of what they want. I'm asking for the privilege again to represent you. I'm your Republican candidate for the District 3. I talked a lot about the north end of the county tonight, but there's problems throughout our entire county, and the budget just isn't in the north end of the county. All right, all these issues that we're talking about are systemic across our entire county. So when I speak about the north end, I represent it with passion, just like I would represent the rest of the county. Some of the things I didn't say before is I'm a U.S. Army veteran. I served over in Kosovo, Iraq, in combat, Purple Heart recipient, Army Commendation Medal with Valor Device, graduate of Johns Hopkins University, and I've been in government service for 26 years now, since I was the age of 18. And the reason I bring that up is I'm tried, tested, true, been in the trenches, been at the dais, and I know what it takes to get the mission accomplished, and that's where I'm driven from. That's where my motivation comes from. I want to be there to represent you. I want the privilege, again, I'm asking you for that privilege to sit at the dais and carry your voice and be your representative. Not an elected leader, you're elected representative of your voice and your will for St. Mary's County. And you can find more about me on jeoconnor.com, and I'm always available. Please feel free to reach out, and I ask for your vote. Thank you very much.
All right, well, gotta wrap it up because I'm standing between you guys and going home. I'm Scott Ostrow. This has been a great evening. Like John said, hearing the comments and the questions. You guys really care about your community. I care about this community also. My wife and I, like I said earlier, my wife and I moved here. My family moved here, my whole family now moved here to join us here. There are 4 grandchildren that are going to be raised right here in St. Mary's County, and I am wanting to make sure that this county keeps moving forward, keeps moving in the right direction, so my grandkids can grow up here and experience how great a community this is and how wonderful it is to raise a family here. When I first took office in 2022, I saw a lot of needs throughout the community. I listened, I talked with local residents, business leaders. We jump-started renovation of throughout Lexington Park. We're working on the new Pax River Plaza. We brought a brand new grocery store in there. We're working on the St. Mary's Square now. We're going to be eventually working with the owners of the Wildwood Shopping Center to get them to do some fix-up work there. I'm committed to serving this community and this county. That's why I hold regular town halls. That's why I'll keep showing up. So I'm asking for your vote. Thank you very much. You can follow me on Facebook, Commissioner Scott Ostrow. You can also check out my website as well. You can read all about me. But thank you very much for coming out and sacrificing your Saturday evening. And it is very appreciated, all the comments, all the questions, and the conversations that we were able to have tonight. So once again, thank you, and I respectfully ask for your vote.
And appreciation for our candidates tonight. And don't forget, the literature is in the back table. You pick that up so you know who to contact and what their website is, and keep track of it. Thank you all. Good night.